Hello, super expanders. I am thrilled because today, right now, sitting with me here on Zoom is Eva Machado of Purpose People. And Eva has truly been a super expander for me since the moment that I met her. She and I met in a mastermind it's almost like a year ago now, actually, I think. And her energy and her drive and her purpose truly spoke to my heart. And so I'm so excited to share her with you today.
I am so excited. I know when you just said that it's been a year, I'm like, there's no way that's true. You know how
I
people are
know.
saying, like, they're like, I feel like the pandemic started like a year ago, but it really started 2 years ago. That's like how I feel about the mastermind. I'm like,
I know, right? It's like crazy how the way that time has passed since the pandemic hit. And it's like, I guess that's like all our point of reference right now, right? Is that. And we were in that mastermind, I think pretty much at the very beginning of it together. So it's been a wild ride and you've been an absolute inspiration through all of it. So I'd love for you to just take a moment and tell everyone exactly who you are, what you do, and a little bit about Purpose People.
oh, well, thank you so much to start. But yeah, I am I would say I'm a new wife, which is funny, but I got married 3 months ago. So that's been the most exciting thing that's been happening lately in my life. But yeah, I'm married. I am a nurse, which I've been a nurse for what, 5, 6 years now, which again, the reference of time is so crazy because that feels like so long for me. But yeah, I've been a nurse for about 5, 6 years. I've worked at the bedside, and a little over 2 years ago, I finally launched my shop, which is what you're referring to as Purpose People. It's turned into its own brand, and I support nurses through my brand. But really, even maybe a year or two before that, I started to just get this itch that I wanted something more besides, I don't want to say just being a nurse, but that's what it felt like. I was like, I just don't want to be just a nurse. I know there's something else for me that, even if it's aligned with nursing or in addition to nursing, I'm called to do. And I didn't know what it was to start. So I just kind of started trialing things, doing different things. And I blogged in the beginning. I did not like that. I was like, I don't know if I want to be an influencer. I don't think I like that, but I was still doing the whole like on camera, Instagram, sharing my story thing. And I kind of started to build this little community. And like I said, a little over 2 years ago, when I first launched my shop, which it really wasn't a shop, it was 6 mugs, but I launched product, I guess I should say, for the first time, I lit up and I was like, this is it. And it's how I support the nursing community, which I never thought I would say, but it's turned into such a beautiful thing and so much more than just product now. It's an entire brand community. And yeah, it lights me up. I still do nursing on the side. So I kind of have this duality right now of a career that's structured and then a career that I run myself. And I'm my own boss for the other half of it, which is awesome. But yeah, that's kind of my story and how I started to build the brand.
Oh my gosh, I love that. So something that you said that really stuck out to me, it really was just foundational of why this podcast has come to life, which is I believe that super expanders have high curiosity and they've had this deep calling that there's more to life than what they're experiencing. And they're on this seeker's journey, which doesn't mean that you just all of a sudden have the answers. It means that you have to walk through the fire, you experience discomfort, you're searching, you're trying things on. And that's exactly how you arrived at creating Purpose People, which I feel like the fact that you're supporting and creating community inside of frontline workers is such an amazing thing, especially during this crazy, crazy time that we have all been going through. And I'm sure you have lots to say about that. So I'd really actually, as a super expander, as a person who's supporting the first line workers and experiencing just the craziness that has gone on inside the hospitals and all of that, like how have you been able to maintain a level of like the positive energy that you bring is so powerful. So how have you amidst this been able to just stay so high vibe?
I think positivity is, I hate to say it, but it's partially a choice. I understand that like absolutely terrible things can happen and they affect us. I'm not saying we should just be like chipper and, you know, have it. I feel like this term now that's coming up is this toxic box positivity. I don't think we should just be chipper and excited all the time when terrible things are happening, because like you said, as a nurse, as a frontline worker, I've experienced things in the last 2 years that I never thought I would have to in my entire life. Like it's been insane and impactful, but you can still choose to find light in any situation. And that's what I want my brand to be, is the light for nurses. And so I like to feel like I'm representative of that. But I think a lot of times it comes down to choosing positivity. And when I say that, I mean being intentional about creating structure in your life that allows you to stay positive. So being intentional about the foundational things. I like preach this all the time because I think it's so powerful and it gets overlooked. Like intentional about water intake, about how you're going to show up to work, and like choosing what your attitude is going to be that day, knowing that you're probably going to get floated to another unit or get an assignment where you feel really uncomfortable and the patients are really sick or you're out of your comfort zone, but knowing that going in and just kind of setting the precedent through intentional practice, like we've learned to do in the mastermind that we were in together, or through people that are super expanders for us, you know?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I feel like that kind of really sums up a lot. So emotional intelligence is kind of what I'm taking away from that. And one of the ways that you become emotionally intelligent is through self-care, making sure that you're doing all the things to fuel your body. Maybe that's movement also, or meditation, so that when it's required of you to be flexible, or you get hit with things that could be triggers or really make you angry, you can walk with it with grace and really be able
Absolutely.
to find the gratitude inside of the situations that otherwise seem really, really bleak.
Yeah. And I think for me as well, having, like I said, this new duality that I've kind of created for myself in the last few years, different kind of like ponds to dip in, I guess, like has been really powerful for me too, because I'm not at the bedside. I haven't been at the bedside 40 hours a week, every single week for the last 3 years. I've been able to kind of have this other thing that lights me up, which for all of the first year of the pandemic, I was working full time and doing this on top of it, but it was my light. It was something I absolutely loved to do. And it brought so much purpose to A, my other job, but B, what I was creating. And it just developed this excitement in my life that allowed me to stay more positive. So I wasn't just sitting in the grief and the disappointment and the hardship of my career as a nurse for those 2 years, if that makes sense, the last 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, you created a situation where you get to follow your joy, which is truly, I think, the magic of life. Oh,
Yeah. And there's
goodness.
hardship in growing that too, right? Like it would be easier to just stay in my career as a nurse and be like, this is one of the hardest times in my life. I'm not going to grow this other thing right now because things are so hard and difficult for me, you know? Instead of looking at it like that, I looked at it like, I don't want to sit in this discomfort. I want to also create something that gets me excited and that I really love. And that is my light, that's going to allow me to stay positive and feel like I'm making a difference and feel like I'm living in my purpose. And so I also followed that, which, you know, led to times where I was working 60 hours a week, but I was also excited about the 20 hours I was spending on my business. And so it's not all easy, but you have to follow what lights you up, because that's what's going to allow you to feel fulfilled in the end, you know?
Oh my gosh. So finding fulfilling things isn't always easy, which is exactly what one of the things when I talk about super expanders is a willingness to walk through the fire. And that's part of it, right? Because even in this journey towards creating something that you're so passionate about, something that lights you up, it doesn't mean that it was just like sunshine and roses the entire time. There was challenges and setbacks. And I'm sure there was times you're like, how am I even going to keep doing this? But you persevered because of just the mission and the fact that it was your soul calling you to do it, which is so inspiring for so
Yeah.
many. So if you had maybe like one or two tips or recommendations for someone who might be feeling that pull, like there's got to be more to my life than this career that I'm in, even if it's not nursing, or if they're in a business but they feel like they want to pivot and do something else, if they're just feeling like there's got to be more than this, do you have like a couple, I don't know, recommendation tips on how you can navigate that?
Yeah, I think in the beginning, we feel so much overwhelmed that if we do something else, it needs to be our new career. We need to make money off of it. If it's not producing money for us, then we feel like, should I even pursue that? People are going to look at me weird, and it's going to take so long for me to get to a point where this is something that creates money or income for me. I shouldn't even do it. Like, we just let the entire world crash down on us before we even start. And I think how we really should start is just by like, what is exciting for me right now? Like, what do I actually like to do? What makes me feel creative? If that's something you're lacking, what makes me feel just like a boss bitch? If
Yeah.
if that's what you're lacking, like, what makes you feel excited? What do you like to do? And then not even putting monetizing it on top of there. Don't even start there. Just start with like making space for that thing in your life. And then eventually you can figure out how to monetize it. You can figure out how to make it something that's a bigger piece of your life. But I trialed and errored without even thinking about that in the beginning. I was just like, there's something else out here for me. And I think another piece of advice that I would give is knowing that you're going to hit road bumps and things that you don't enjoy along the way. So expecting that along your route. So for me, I was like, I'm going to try things and I know that I'm going to A, suck at some of them, B, just hate some of them, even though I might be good at them, you know, and just kind of go from there. And so as I moved forward, like I said, I kind of blogged a little bit and I was like, oh, this is horrible, because I'm good at writing. And I was always told in school that I was good at writing. So I was blogging and people were like, oh, you're good at this, but I was not finding joy in it. So I nixed it. Then I went on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And then, like I said, when I launched product, the alignment all came together. But I think alignment isn't something that you find right away. It's something that you find from trial and error. That's how you get to the place of alignment. And then you can follow your purpose from there.
So let's just dive a little deeper.
Yeah, a lot all at once.
Well, no. I want to talk a little bit about when you said alignment, because it's kind of like a fashionable, trendy thing to say alignment. And I've just recently, I think, started to understand it on a much deeper level than I had understood it before. And I felt like I had a pretty good grasp of it before, but just recently I've really started to get it, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But something that you said in this new understanding and like synthesis for myself that I feel like would add some value is the idea of having to experience different things, because as I'm fully beginning to understand alignment, it's a true feeling within you that is alignment, and you're not actually going to know that until you experience the polarities or the dualities of certain situations for you to be like, oh, that's like alignment inside me. That's what like, that feels like.
It's like, think about everyone, maybe not in business, but has been in relationships where like you're in a relationship, and when you get to a better relationship that is more aligned and more ready for you, and it's the person that you're aligned and supposed to be with, it's so much more clear because you've been with other people in other relationships where you've experienced things that you're like, oh, that's not for me. But you kind of don't realize until you then step into the thing that is for you. So it gives you that perspective to know that you're aligned.
Absolutely, which is such a funny thing to try to tell someone when they're on this journey, because everybody just like wants to find the thing, whatever it happens to be. You just want to find the thing. You don't want to have to go through the like, this is okay. Is this really it? Is this really it? When you start asking your questions, is this really it? It's probably not, right? Because when you hit the thing, it's like, bingo, eureka, this is my jam. I mean, is that kind of it sounds like that when you talk about when you launched your first product, your 6 mugs, which I think is like the most amazing thing. And I hope you have like one of your first mugs that you kept for your memory.
It's right here.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
I'm drinking out of
it. I love that so much. When you said that you launched it, you were like, wow. And there was this instant feeling. Was that kind of the experience for you?
Yeah, it was the whole thing. Like, I got a mentor, and that was the first time I really invested in myself, because I kind of knew it was something I was pretty excited about. And yeah, I think it was the entire experience of creating a brand and getting people excited around this product. And it has to do with marketing too. Like I love marketing and I learned that through product. And it wasn't because, for the record, that I had like $1,000 in sales on my first day and like everyone loved it. And then I was like, yes, this is for me. Like, no, I don't even know how many I sold, but it was not a lot. And it wasn't about the money. It was just about the fact that it felt good for me. And then I was like, okay, as I progressed from there, other people got excited about it. I learned that this was something that nurses needed and they were excited about. I was creating community. And so it kind of snowballed. It was a snowball effect from the beginning to where it is now. And the excitement has continued to snowball as well, as far as my alignment and my excitement around it.
So you were actually in love with the process, which is
Exactly.
the,
Yeah. The
it
journey.
is,
Gotta love the journey.
yeah, you gotta love the journey and the process. You made me actually right now just think too, do you know what your human design is?
No, I know I'm an Enneagram 3, which is pretty obvious to me at least.
I'm kind of curious whether you're a generator, because we'll have to look this up and like follow up on it, because when generators are excited about something, they basically people follow them and engage with them, buy from them, want to be in their energy because of their excitement, and literally just because of their excitement. And I feel that there's like an aura of that happening just around your brand, which I love. It feels so good.
That is something that I get a lot, actually, because I get it in my DMs. I get people telling me that all the time. Like, I just don't even like, I don't even know anyone that's a nurse, or I'm not a nurse, but I just like to follow you because I just feel like you're so obsessed with what you do. And I'm like, oh, I take that as a compliment. Like, thank you. And it's cool that you can even inspire someone else completely outside of your realm, or someone outside of your target market, target audience. You can inspire people that you don't even know are looking. And that's exciting, because when you're aligned, you just tend to like bring people in, like you're saying, like into your circle, and they just want to be a part of your energy because you're becoming a super attractor for them, super generator for them.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I feel that. Okay. And this makes me think that I actually have to share with the audience, and kind of like as a reminder of why, well, outside of the fact that I believe you're super amazing and that you are a super expander for me, but how it is that it came to be that you had to be a guest on my podcast. I was in a breathwork journey in the middle of my hypno breathwork certification. And first of all, the name of this podcast came to me. I had a whole different name in that right before that session started. And in the middle of my session, your face appeared. And which is, is that like creepy for you?
Oh no, I'm like here for it. I'm like, tell me more, tell me more.
Yeah. So I literally was in my breath work, and I was like, first of all, it's almost like there's like a dream-like quality of like a movie playing inside of your head while it's happening. And I'm like, oh, who? Oh, that's Eva. Oh my gosh. Well, she is meant to be a guest on my podcast. And so I literally, the whole idea behind hypno breathwork is intuitive action. And so I literally ended that session and I messaged you and was like, okay, this might sound weird, but I basically had a vision that you need to be on this podcast that I haven't even launched yet. And you've been a super expander. That's the name. And I need you to be my guest. Please, will you do it?
Yeah. And of course, like I read the DM and I'm not even weirded out at all. I'm like, oh yeah, let's do it. We're doing it. It sounds great. Like just hopping on board. And I do love the name so much. I think, have you read the book Super Attractor?
By Gabby Bernstein?
Yes,
Yeah.
by Gabby Bernstein. So that like word keeps popping up in my mind. It's like super attractor, super expander, super generator, super everything.
All
It's
the
awesome.
things.
But it really does encompass like what it means to be a successful business owner, and a business owner who lives in their purpose, or just a human being that lives in their purpose, who's fulfilled. It's so much more than revenue or just the basic things that people think it means. It's really encompasses like the entire being of a successful, fulfilled business owner, human being, woman.
Absolutely. All the other things are results of living your purpose and showing up in that power consistently. The results, the achievement of your dreams and your goals and all of those things come because of that. The money in the bank, all of it. That doesn't come first. You have to go first, and then the universe follows.
I love that. That is so true.
Yeah. So on your journey, I would love to know who has been a super expander in your life.
I have a few. I feel like I'm sure people say all the time their coaches, their mentors, because they kind of force us into that. But I think as far as like looking from the sidelines at somebody, Kat Golden is like my number one person who has been a super expander for me, and not in comfortable ways all the time, because she's someone who is in the same realm as me, who started from the beginning, very similar to me. She has a product-based business for nurses. And so she's like very aligned with what I do. And a lot of people would say she would be like a direct competitor, but we don't look at each other like that at all. We don't even like believe in that, which is awesome. But she's been someone who just fearlessly was going after her dreams from day one. And I saw her from, whatever it was, 500 followers to where she is now, grew a 7-figure brand. And it's just so inspirational to me that she's that person for me. But like I said, a lot of times it hasn't been comfortable, because I've looked at her and compared and been like, am I copying her? Like, I don't want to build the same brand as somebody else. But like I said previously, like as I take steps forward and I feel excited and aligned with them, I'm like, I have to follow that. I can't follow what someone else is doing. And that fear of comparison either. So it's grown me in good ways and bad, I guess. All good in the end, but like I viewed some of it as bad in the beginning, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. I think that anytime we end up in a spiral of comparison, it can be a little bit of a trigger for us. And when we feel triggered by something, it's just a mirror for us to become more aware of what's going on inside of us. And you just did that by nature, just having the idea and thought that you didn't want to, copy something of hers, or you were hyper aware of it. And so I feel like that when we think of super expanders, I think the first thought is, oh, it's this like absolutely positive thing. But a super expander really could just kind of like flip your whole entire world on its head, because it made you upset or angry. Not that Kat Golden did that for you, but it could, right? That's not.
Yeah, they can force you into uncomfortable growth, 100%.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's one of the things that I would say super expander is, just when I think about it, because it's like the people, like I said, coaches or mentors too, they push you in a way that makes you uncomfortable. It forces you to grow. And she was someone that did that for me from the outside looking in, which we've worked together now. We've worked together and we know about each other's businesses and we totally support each other. It's not like that. It's just someone that from the side, someone who inspires you. You're so excited about them and they inspire you so much. You want so badly to be them that sometimes it can create negativity in you and uncomfortable growth that forces you to become who you're supposed to be, which isn't always comfortable, but it gets you there.
She called you up.
Exactly. Yeah.
When someone calls you up, and especially because what I'm hearing is that she literally has been like, hey, come walk with me. Like she wasn't a feeling of competition. It was this very open-ended women supporting women sort of dynamic, which is what we need in this world.
And absolutely on her end, that's what it was. For me in the beginning, it was me being like, oh, like, who do I think I am to try to do something so similar to her? And she was like, come on, girl, you can come. Like, I got room for you, which is why she's a super expander and why she's amazing. But I had personal growth that I need to do. So it took me a while to be like, oh, this is okay, that people can do the same thing as me, which is so funny in the coaching world. There's like a gajillion coaches and everyone's like, yeah, you can do it too. But we all still feel like we don't have our place yet. And it's hard to get there. And so, yeah, it's been a learning experience for me, and I still follow her and I still am like, she's just a boss, and I watch her stories and I'm like, I still want to be like her and grow into someone who's like her, because she really is a super expander for me.
Absolutely. So I'm excited because one of the things that I sort of have my eye on here a little bit in the future is having you back on with your super expander. So we have a doggy in the background. Having you back on with your super expander to open up a whole new conversation. So I feel like this is going to be a whole new conversation that we're going to get to carry on.
That would be so epic. I would be like in love with that podcast or listening to a podcast of other people. So I'm like, love that idea for the listeners too. Like I would be like, I'll listen to someone else too, because that sounds like amazing.
Okay, so I think that would be such a fun conversation, and I can't wait to hopefully facilitate that. All right, so I have another question for you. Fast forward to this time next year, and I would love to know how it is that you'd like to feel. Let's put the income goals aside. Let's put the, the items we all desire to acquire over the entire year as proof of our success, all of those things, because we know that that success is coming and you're going to be able to do all those things. So how exactly do you want to feel?
So I've been reflecting on this a lot. It's January 4th right now when we're recording this, and it's, we're coming into this new year, and I don't know if you guys do this, but a lot of people practice this one word for the year. And I have started to practice this the last few years. What word would you choose that you would like to resonate with you throughout the whole year, impact your life this year? And so for me, I tend to, like I said, I'm an Enneagram 3. I tend to be an achiever, and those words, I want them to be big, audacious words that are going to get me into higher revenue goals, everything that you just said we should be like avoiding, right? And I have chosen a word this year that's bringing me into how I actually want to feel, like you're asking. And I'm choosing the word still because it feels so uncomfortable and something that I don't like to do. I don't like to be still. I like to achieve and work and be productive. And I think the way to get clarity in your business and your life is through being still, like actually implementing like I said, the foundations, meditation. I want to get back into yoga. I used to be so into yoga. And then when the pandemic hit and I lost, the in-person yoga, I just stopped going and never picked it back up. Now that it's open again, like I want to get back into that. Last year I said I wanted to read. I think I said I wanted to read 10 books last year. I read, I think 1 or 2. I read Harry Potter. And I really want to be still and take those 10 minutes in the morning and read. And so I'm implementing stillness into my life this year, which I know will, like you're saying, secondhand bring me all of those amazing things that I want. But I think that's going to bring a lot more like wholeness into my life. And so that's my word for this year. And that's how I want to feel at the end of next year, is still, calm, clear. And yeah, I'm excited. I know you said you do the word of the year too, so I would love to hear what yours is.
Yeah, I love that so much. So it's funny that you were talking about these big audacious words, because so for 2021, my year was my word was trust. And when I was trying to like come up with my word, I kept writing down things like fierce and like tenacity and things like that. And all that kept happening was my intuition just kept going, trust. And I kept like, no, I don't like that one. It's not like bold and tough and like, enough. And I kept going for it until finally, actually, because I was like a month into 2021 when I finally was like, all right, enough already, fine. It's going to be trust. I'm just going to go with trust. And I will tell you that the word served me so well this year. And I had a very similar experience when I was going to choose my word, which is kind of like a journey, because I feel like it kind of finds you. It's tapping into your intuition and really listening to, you can't force it. And so at first I was like, I'm just gonna be like receive, right? Because I want to receive all of the things. I need to be a better receiver. And I was using my logical brain in that. And what just kept popping up for me was leadership. That. And it's funny because that's really what this podcast is about. So I feel like it's the most perfect word
I love that
for this year of 2022.
Yeah, you have to lean into the words that you need, not the words that you want it to be. So it's not, oh, what's your goal? What do you want? It's what, like, that's a perfect way to ask it. The way you asked me is like, how do you want to feel at the end of next year? And like, what's the word that you think is going to guide you there? And so it's a lot of what we probably don't want it to be is probably the one that you should pick.
Absolutely. And I think that, I mean, it's your intuition, your gut starts speaking to you, and you try to force the word, the shiny word that's going to be so cool to have. You can put it on your bracelet and carry it around. It's like, yeah, it's my word. And then your gut's like, no, that's not the word.
You have to be still now. Oh.
and you're like, shh, shut up. I'll do that next year.
Like, I'm not walking around with a bracelet that says still on it. Come on. I want to have something cool.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. Okay, so as we kind of wrap this up and tie this in a tidy, nice little bow, I would love to know if you could give your younger self a piece of advice, what would it be?
Okay, so this is one of my favorite quotes that I would love to share with you guys, because this is exactly what I needed to hear that I didn't know I needed to hear, because so often in business, we tend to do the things that we think we're supposed to do, and we like overanalyze, and we try to convince ourselves, and like you said, we use our logical brains way too much instead of following the feeling of what we should be doing and what's aligned with us. And so if you don't mind, I'll share this little quote, and it says,
Please.
yeah, don't ask the world what it needs, ask what makes you come alive and go do it, because what the world needs is people who have come alive. And I love that. I think it's so true. We need to just follow what makes us feel alive and what makes us feel aligned with our purpose, versus our logical brain telling us we need to make X amount or do this because of this, and follow those like fear-based thoughts and supposed to thoughts. So that's a quote that has like resonated with me so much the last couple of days, that I like had it on the side here ready to go, because I knew I was going to be able to bring it into the podcast somehow.
See, when you were saying it, I actually, like, my whole body was buzzing. So powerful. I love that so much. So how can the listeners find you? What's the best way for them to find you, connect with you, buy the Purpose People products? How do they do that?
Yeah, so my website is purposeful.co, and I actually created a code for you guys to get 15% off. Like I said, it is based in nursing. So if you know a nurse, you are a nurse, everyone knows a nurse. So you can check it out there, purposeful.co. I created a code, Super Expander 15, for you guys for 15% off the entire store. And then as far as me personally, I have the Purpose People Co. Instagram, but my Instagram is Eva Machado. I think it's just Eva Machado. Yeah. Eva Machado. And I'm actually going crazy on TikTok these days. I love TikTok, but my TikTok handle is Eva Machado RN. And so you guys can find me there, hang with me there. Always feel free to DM me. I always answer. And yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been so great.
Amazing. So all that's going to be in the show notes, and yeah, you guys can find everything there. You can follow her, buy from the Purpose People, gift all your nursing friends all the goods. And I can't wait for you to be back here with your super expander, diving into this conversation. It's going to be amazing.
I would love that. And I love that idea. You guys will see me back. I'm in for it. So
thank you so much for taking the time out today to just have this conversation. I know it's hard to carve out time when you are building a business and you're juggling a career at the same time. So appreciate you, grateful for you.
Thank you so much. Have an awesome day.
You too, babe.